Are going to keep moving through Unit 2. We're going to be looking at a section of the text and close reading it. It's called The Glass Frog. So for the first part of this lesson, all you need is your copy of everything you need to know about frogs and other slippery creatures. So get your copy of that book. You don't need your research notebook just yet. Once you have your book, go ahead and come back to the video. Okay, so today we are participating in a teacher-led close read of a complex text about glass frogs. So all that means is we're going to look at the text that we've already looked at, page 32 and 33. And we read it for just yesterday, but today we're going to read it closely to learn what makes a glass frog unique. Our learning targets say that I can refer explicitly to the text when answering questions about the text. We know that that word explicitly means we go straight to the text, and we've been practicing that. We go back to the text to find the answers about the text, and that's what we're going to do today. So, you don't need your research notebook yet. We will pull that out at the end, but for now, I just want you to take a minute, make sure you are on this page, page 32 and 33. Look through and read through those pages again, and we will dig into them in just a moment once everybody is on the right page. All right, so I'm going to go on ahead and read the entire text from the beginning to the end of this page. And remember, yesterday we read for the gist, but today we are rereading to learn what makes the glass tree frog unique. So, the glass frog. With its amazing see-through body, the glass frog blends in perfectly with its surroundings. This little frog hangs on to leaves with tiny, round-ended toes that seem to almost melt into the leaf surface. It lives in Central and South America. Most glass frogs live high in the rainforest canopy. At such a height, the trees are covered with clouds all year round, and the frog's skin is kept nice and moist. They come down from the canopy to lay eggs. Glass frogs are more transparent from beneath. You can even see their hearts beating busily in their chests. Glass frogs lay their eggs on leaves that overhang running water. The male frog stands guard and protects the eggs from parasitic flies. When the tadpoles hatch, they drop down into the water. They have powerful tails and are well adapted for life in fast-flowing forest streams. Okay, we're going to look at just page 32, okay, right here. Go ahead and take a moment and reread this section right here, either by yourself or with a partner. I'm going to read it and you can follow along. With its amazing see-through body, the glass frog blends in perfectly with its surroundings. This little frog hangs on to leaves with tiny, round-ended toes that seem almost to melt into the leaf surface. It lives in Central and South America. Now, what do you notice about, or what is the title of this section? Whisper it or tell it to your partner. It's called The Glass Frog, and you see that title right here. I specifically noticed that the words the and frog are bold, and the word glass has been outlined. Why do you think that the writers chose to outline that word? It makes the word glass stand out from the other words in the title, and it's also to show that glass is something you can see through. Now, if I look at this photograph right here on page 32, what's the connection between the frog in the photograph and the way the word glass is written? They are both see-through. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on these two pages, but I have a lot of questions that we're going to dig into. So the first one says, according to the text, what is amazing about the glass frog's body? Okay, so I'm going to go through some questions, and eventually we're going to use this information after we finish the lesson. You and a partner will take everything we talk about and you're going to put it in your research notebook. So it's really important that you pay attention. And if you're working with a partner right now, or if we're doing this as a whole group and the teacher's pausing the video, it's important that you listen and engage in this conversation so you know what to put in the book in a little bit. All right. So the first question again says, what is amazing about the glass frog's body? So the first question I have about that is, what does the word see-through mean? It says that he has a see-through body right here with its amazing see-through body. Okay, so see-through means that you can see in one side and you can see out the other. What are some things that you can think of that are see-through? Maybe glass, some kind of a clear plastic, or maybe a window. If you look at the picture on page 32 right here, you can see through the frog and you can see the leaves underneath it or whatever else the frog is sitting on. It blends in with its surroundings. And the word blend means that it looks like everything that it's surrounded by. And that helps the frog blend in because the glass frog looks like whatever it is sitting on. Okay, so we're going to keep going. That's its see-through body. The second sentence, I want us to start right here. We're going to look at that sentence, says, this little frog hangs on to leaves with tiny round-ended toes that seem almost to melt into the leaf surfaces. It lives in Central and South America. Okay? So, describe for me, what do the toes look like on the leaf? If you look at the picture even, it's hard to see them, isn't it? It's hard to see the toes because these toes just blend in with the leaf underneath it. Let's see. I'm skipping through some of this as I go. When it says that the toes almost seem to melt into the leaf surfaces, when I think about melting, I think about things like chocolate or maybe ice cream. And when they get hot, they get liquid and it melts. So are the frog's toes actually melting like an ice cream that sits in the sun for too long? No, but it says that they seem to. And so that phrase, seem almost to melt into the leaf surface, what does that tell us about the frog's toes? That tells us that the toes look like they're melting onto the leaf because they are so tiny and so clear. And there are some other adjectives in that section that the writers use to describe the glass frog. Remember, adjectives are words that tell more about a noun. They describe a noun. So the writers describe the glass frog as tiny, and they describe him as having round-ended toes. He's a little frog. Okay? And all of those adjectives help us understand what the glass frog looks like. All right. We're going to keep moving on. The next question, there is a note catcher, and we are going to be filling it out, like I said. But we're not going to do every part of it, so we're going to do the 4 sections that we will fill in at the end. But the next question that you'll be answering says, what is unique about how the glass frog looks? And that's where we're going to put that information in the note catcher later. But let's go on ahead and look at the top of page 33. I'm sorry, not the top. The circle down here in the yellow circle. I'm going to reread that section, and then we will work through some questions that will help us learn about the glass frog. So everybody should be looking in your book on page 33, that yellow circle. Here we go. Most glass frogs live high in the rainforest canopy. At such a height, the trees are covered with clouds all year round, and the frog's skin is kept nice and moist. They come down from the canopy to lay eggs. Okay. So we're going to ask some questions about this part of the text to help us understand a little more about the frog. So according to the text, where do most glass frogs live? In that yellow section, it tells us that they live in the rainforest canopy. Okay? And what clues in the text can help us figure out what the rainforest canopy is like? We know that it's high. It talks about it being high up and having such a great height. That tells us that the trees are so high up, they're covered with clouds, and that the frogs have to come down to lay their eggs. It also tells us specifically that the trees are tall, and since it has tall trees that are covered with clouds, we know the trees are there in the forest because of the word rainforest. Another thing we know is that the word rain and rainforest and the talking about clouds and the frog's skin staying moist, that tells us that it is wet where the glass tree frogs live. So from the text, we've learned that glass tree frogs live high up in tall trees and in wet places. If you look at the top over here, it also tells us specifically that it lives in Central and South America, which is a little bit different than just it tells us a specific location. So that is also important. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So using that information, what is unique about where the glass frog lives, and how does this help the glass frog survive? Okay, so it is unique that a tree frog lives in the rainforest canopy in the top of the trees because most frogs need what to live? Or all frogs. They have to live in water. But these frogs are unique because they live in trees that are so tall that the trees are covered by clouds. So the clouds keep the frog's skin moist, which keeps them from drying out. Now that is going to be on your note catcher later, and you'll fill in a part about how it is unique that they live in the rainforest canopy because they are still able to be wet from the clouds, and that's how they live there. But we're filling that in later. Okay? So we're going to keep moving on. We're going to look at the yellow column. We're going to read through each of these sections. Now, these are all photographs, and the text feature that gives more information about a photograph is called a caption. So we're going to look at this first photograph and its caption. And it says, glass frogs are more transparent from beneath. You can even see their hearts beating busily in their chest. According to the text, glass frogs are more what from beneath? All right, it says transparent. And what does that word transparent mean? In the text, we've gotten lots of clues that tell us that transparent means clear. And we see that this picture up here shows us that it looks clear. But there's also a text feature in the back of the book that helps us find the meaning of words that we don't know. So go ahead and flip to page 78. Once you're there, take a minute and see if you can find the word transparent on your page. When you do, put your finger on it. All right. I hope you found it. There is the word transparent, and the glossary tells us that transparent means clear or see-through. Okay? And so thinking about those details, what are the other synonyms that the writer uses for the word transparent on these pages? Over and over, we see words like see-through. We see words like glass. Those are words that help us know that transparent means see-through. All right, let's look at the second caption under the second photograph here. It says, glass frogs lay their eggs on leaves that overhang running water. The male frog stands guard and protects the eggs from parasitic flies. So, according to the text, where do most glass frogs lay their eggs? All right. Well, before we can answer that question, let's talk about two things in this section. First of all, we're going to look at this first sentence. Glass frogs lay their eggs on leaves that overhang running water. The word running water, what does that word mean? It tells us that the water is moving, so it's like a stream or like a river. The other word that's important to find the answer to where glass frogs lay their eggs is overhang. Now, that's a compound word. There are two words that are put together, and I could split them right there. Over and hang. We know that the word over means above something, and we know that hang means that it's above something. So the word overhang literally means to hang above. Now, that helps us answer the next question, which says, describe where the leaves glass frogs lay their eggs on are in relation to the water. Now, that's a very confusing sentence. I'm going to read it one more time. Describe where the leaves glass frogs lay their eggs on are in relation to the water. So the leaves where the frogs lay their eggs are above the water. According to the text, where are glass frogs before they lay their eggs? We're going to read this second picture. Nope, we're going to read the last section. Nope. We're going to back up a little bit and make sure that I say this all clearly. So the word overhang means hang above. Now, describing that second picture in the yellow column right here, it helps us understand what glass tree frogs look like when they're sitting on their eggs. It shows how the frog and the eggs are transparent and how they blend in with the leaves they're sitting on. Okay? Then that brings us to the question, where are glass frogs before they lay their eggs? They're in the canopy, and they come down from the canopy to lay their eggs. And then finally, we know that glass frogs lay their eggs on leaves that hang above moving water. Okay, so in our own words, that's what we would say. Glass frogs lay their eggs on leaves that hang above moving water. All right. And we're going to look at this last picture and the caption. It says, when tadpoles hatch, they drop down into the water. They have powerful tails and are well adapted for life in fast-flowing forest streams. What are the adjectives that the writers used to describe the glass frogs? It says they're powerful, they're well adapted. Wrapping this up, what is unique about glass frog tadpoles specifically? Okay, so they had to adapt to living in moving water in a different way, and it helps them survive because they have powerful tails and they are good swimmers. Okay, and so that is on the note catcher as well. And finally, the last thing we have, how is the glass frog well adapted to survive in the rainforest? Well, there's a couple of different answers. You might think that it's because they have see-through skin, and that helps them blend in with their surroundings so they can hide from predators. It might be that they live in the rainforest canopy, which is covered in clouds. The clouds keep their skin moist, so they don't need to be near water. They lay their eggs on leaves that hang over water, so when the tadpoles hatch, they can drop into the water below. Or the tadpoles have powerful tails and are strong swimmers, so they can survive in fast-flowing streams in the rainforest. Any of those would be correct. So, I'm going to tell you about our task in just a second, but as we went through this, did we go together and answer questions about the text by looking back at the text? Yes, we did. So, 2 things that you need to do before the end of class today. The first is to log into your Google Classroom, and this is under the section called Module Lessons. It's on the section called Classwork first. Click on My Reading One, click Classwork, and scroll until you see Glass Frog Exit Ticket. It's just 2 questions on Google Forms. Make sure you click Submit when you're done. Then you can get with a partner. You can take your copy of the book and you need to get your research notebook. And it's page 7. And these are the 4 questions that you're going to answer. It's all the information that we talked about. Okay? So that's why you can work with a partner and fill it in. You can use pictures, you can use words, you can use diagrams. Let's see. What is unique about how glass frogs look? We know that they're transparent, so that should be included. What is unique about where they live? They don't just live in the water, they live in the rainforest canopy. Where do they lay their eggs? That's the section we just talked about. It's on the leaves. And then what is unique about glass frog tadpoles? That is that they have to learn to adapt in running water. So that is everything. And we don't have to worry about that. There's your exit ticket, but we have it on Google Classroom, and that is everything. Awesome job.